Are you concerned that the NSA is tracking you online and doing all kinds of shady things behind the scenes? Well, now it's going to be in front of the scenes. That's right. The National Science Foundation is financing a web service that is going to monitor, quote, suspicious memes on Twitter. So now it's not just the email that they're doing on the DL. It's everything that you put out there. We've got some more info for you. The, quote, Truthy database created by researchers at Indiana University is designed to detect political smears, astroturfing, misinformation, and other social pollution. That seems like a scary phrase to me. The open source platform could mitigate the diffusion of false and misleading ideas, detect hate speech and subversive propaganda, and assist in the preservation of open debate, and a little more. While the vast majority of memes arise in a perfectly organic manner driven by the complex mechanisms of life on the web, some are engineered by the shady machinery of high-profile congressional campaigns. Truthy claims to be nonpartisan. However, the project's leaders proclaims his support for numerous progressive advocacy groups, including Obama's Organizing for Action, MoveOn.org, Greenpeace, Amnesty International, Sierra Club, and more. So that's from the Free Beacon and in Indiana U. We don't quote the Free Beacon here often at the Young Turks, but I thought this was kind of interesting because it could go either way. Right now, Obama's in power, and if you don't like him, they could be tracking you, and then, you know what, a Republican comes into power, and then they could be tracking the other guy. So I think we have to talk about this kind of stuff. With all the NSA stuff, though, is this like, does this seem like nothing to you, or does this seem like this is the stuff that you're putting out publicly, right, and they're just getting, you know, it's not that they're necessarily, it's not that the government is watching your feed constantly. It's just that they're going to be aggregating all this stuff and seeing, is everything true? I mean, half the shit you see on the internet is not true, probably 90% of it. So there's a lot going on here. Take it away.
Well, I have a personal story. I have this friend who 10 years ago was saying, sugar causes cancer. You should put tape over your your camera on your computer. Yeah. And I remember making...
I don't see how those two are connected.
I know, but she was just always one of these theorist kind of people. Yeah. And I remember making fun of her like, oh yeah, the people are trying to watch me. And you know what, 2 days ago, put a little piece on my camera. I mean, the reality is, they have been watching, or they've been aggregating for years, and it's for people to be so surprised by it is silly. If you are on a computer or any electronic device that can have a beacon or whatever, they are capable of watching you, and everyone just needs to deal with that. It's going to happen. For me, I personally don't care, because the worst they're going to find out is I have a severe case of silly girl-itis. So that's it. You know what I mean? Like, who is doing all this stuff that they're so concerned the government is watching? You know?
But you never know where, you don't want the government to have too much power to just be watching what you're doing all the time. They just have too much power. They just do. Yeah. So is there a distinction here between like us policing ourselves? Because that's what this is. That's why in a weird way this seems almost more perverse to me. Like, we know what the government's doing and it's gross and we complain about it all the time. But this is like, you're going to be like seeing a meme that you don't like and like flag it, and then it's going to go into the database. Like, we're going to be watching each other now. I
mean, I think that we live in a world where, we were talking about the Islamic State before. They're using Twitter to spread their propaganda, right? So I think that building smarter algorithms to look at data en masse and organize it in a way that that it makes sense, I think is useful. Like, I was looking at the website for Truthy, and it's going to be open source. They have APIs available for people to mine the data and use it for interesting purposes. They've got whole graphics visualization stuff going on. So I don't think it didn't strike me as being necessarily that evil off the bat, you know? Like, it kind of reminded me of the Obama Brain Initiative, which I think is amazing, and so, yeah, like, I didn't think it sounded that bad.
Every time we do one of these stories, I immediately go to the future is going to be evil and they're coming to get us. But you often bring it back to, like, not everything, that the cars aren't automatically going to all kill us, and the robots aren't. The sex robots, they're not going to necessarily strangle you. I have that feeling.
I'm a techno-optimist. I choose to err on the side of optimism because I think that technology, there are some costs to the fact that, like, I have all of the world's knowledge in my pocket on my iPhone. I forget numbers a lot more easily, and the like. I've outsourced the left brain, but I think that we have a lot more to gain from technology than to lose if that power is put into the right hands and made as democratic as possible. I think having a technology like this being open source, I think, is a sort of good way to accomplish that.
Yeah, we did a story on this once before, but do you think the internet needs like a Bill of Rights, like something that supersedes governments, but like just like 10 rules that govern the actual internet and the freedoms and the rights that we have and what the governments can and can't do? Now, I know this is total pie in the sky and they're never going to go for it and all that, but
I kind of wish that people aren't allowed to post unless it's verified who they are in some sense. But then on the other hand, I see where that's incorrect and where that could lead to a bunch of problems, and that being subversive and wanting to post anonymously is a powerful, dirty feeling. But that being said, if I was on the internet and I was writing all these terrible things all on the Huffington Post or wherever it is, and it's anonymous, I can't say those same terrible things to you, because even if you're telling me to shut up, I would pick up that you think I'm crazy, you know what I mean? So I do feel like in some way I wish everyone wouldn't be able to put stuff on the internet unless it was verified. There's no way to do that, but I wish it would kind of be that way sometimes.
Is it also slightly different when people in Western countries do it versus if you were in Egypt during the revolution, you maybe needed to be anonymous to be able to get the information out there about where they should go, versus what happens in Western societies where if you go on Huffington Post, it's just anonymous crazy people screaming at each other. So there is there's some kind of distinction there, right?
Right. It is anonymous crazy people here in America. But then you're right, in other countries, right, that's true. But in other countries where they're trying to get some message across and they do need to be anonymous for their own safety, I mean, I do understand that. So I don't know, it's a tricky question.
On that note, as I say every day, don't debate with a Twitter egg. That is pretty much the best thing that you can do.